What is up, YouTube? THATSA here, and today I'm bringing you guys my very first tournament review. For those who don't know, it was my birthday yesterday, so I actually went to a League Cup out in Davis. So for those who don't know how tiering works for official Pokemon tournaments, you have just leagues and regular tournaments. Then you have cups, and the way cups work is they have them once a month at most shops, and you can actually earn official circuit points for the Pokemon World Championships, as well as other cool prizes like specific cards that say what place you got and stuff like that if you place very well. By the way, I got second, so I feel this deck is definitely worthy of doing a deck review and a tournament review for as well. And then above that, you have league challenges, and then you have regionals and nationals and stuff like that. So it's not the lowest tier, but it actually is the very first step on super competitive play. So what we're gonna be doing here is we're gonna be talking about, like I said, I did get second place, which is pretty good. League Cups usually they cut the standings, so even if there was top 8, which there was, it's not like you guys play each other out to see who's the best. It just cuts the standings. It put me at second place. I'll take second place. I actually really do like the deck that I used. And speaking about the deck that I used, I actually used one of my favorite decks in the standard formats. It's gonna be Gardevoir GX. You guys can take a really good look at this card right here. It has 230 base HP. It's a stage 2 Pokemon, so that's evolved from Routes, then into Curlia, then into Gardevoir, and it's super good. It has an amazing ability, which we'll be talking about. It has an amazing attack, and GX attack is actually pretty very good for this League Cup. And so you may be wondering that, so what makes this different from a deck review? You're calling this a tournament review. What makes this special? So after I talk about my deck and show you my lists for everything like that, we're gonna be talking about the decks that I played against, and I'll also other decks that are popular in my neck of the woods to hopefully give you guys a better understanding of the current meta at the time. Again, this is only a League Cup, so it's not the most prestigious win of all time, but I plan on going to a bunch of regionals. I plan on going nationals, and I want to just familiarize you guys with this type of video, so when I do them in the future for actual really high level events, you guys are already familiar with how I run things. So again, if you guys have any questions about any of the cards in my deck, any questions about my list, or any critiques you guys can possibly make to my list, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. And while you're leaving comments and stuff like that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click that like button. Remember, we're trying to grow this channel to 1,000 subs in the very first month that we have it up. And also, while we're here, remember there's also the promotion going on where the first 10 people to leave a comment saying I want a code will get a code of Team Up once my shipment of Team Up codes comes in the mail. So I already owe people a couple codes, but even if I owe you a code, you can still comment on this one again and I'll send you another one, because I ordered all my codes, and thanks to all the weather that's going on right now in the Midwest, it's really making some shipments coming a little bit late. So sorry for the delay, but you guys will get your codes relatively soon. And without further ado, let's hop right into this. So Gardevoir GX, one of my favorite stage 2s. I really like it because it resists dark, and I feel that dark is a pretty good type right now with cards that are very popular like Zoroark GX. But yeah, this thing has huge base HP, and it's all about its ability. You can see this card has the ability Secret Spring. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may attach a fairy energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So you actually don't have to attach this to Gardevoir. You can attach it to literally anything, any of the other Pokemon on the deck or on your field. And I actually have a really unique list, and it's not just It's not just Gardevoir. We're using Gardevoir in conjunction with the new card from Lost Thunder, Ninetales GX. And for those of you guys that can see it, this is a Pokemon. Whenever I play it regionals, I always have, it's so bright. It's so bright because of my my light here, but you can see I have a little baby Vulpix here. It's the softest thing in the world. I always have a little Santa hat on it. But yeah, Vulpix, and I just love Ninetales. I've taken Ninetales. I even like the water Ninetales. This is one of the best cards ever made, I think. And it's so cool that one of my favorite Pokemon's actually good. I think that's one thing that I like a lot about TCG compared to VG. You can use so many cool things. I've actually had this theory for a long time, that a lot of mons that are good in the video game suck in the card game, and a lot of the mons that suck in the card game are good in the video game. A perfect example is, Zoroark. Zoroark's really good, has been good for a really long time in the card game, but Zoroark's always been bad in the video game. It just kind of makes sense. Think about it. Cresselia, really good in the video game. Can you tell me a good Cresselia card? Probably not. Same thing goes for Ferrothorn, Gliscor, other Pokemon, they're good in singles. Let's talk about doubles. Kangaskhan, really good in doubles. Talonflame, really good in doubles. There's not really good cards for those things. That's just a little theory, but yeah, Ninetales really good. The reason this card is so good, it works off a card that we're going to be talking about in a low-end Vulpix that it has an attack that costs no energy, that says search your deck for 2 Pokemon, put them in your hand, so you can search this Ninetales off your first turn of the game if you go second. And it says, Mysterious Guidance, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, so it doesn't have to be evolving from both picks, that's actually very important. During your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 item cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So the way this works is, this lets you hit your like Ultra Balls, and most notably your Rare Candies. For those who don't know what Rare Candy does, if I have like a Routes in play, I can use a Rare Candy, and it lets me go straight into Gardevoir that's in my hand. It lets me skip the Curlia phase altogether, and that's how a card like Gardevoir can like actually work to its fullest potential, is like go right from Routes to Gardevoir, and it's definitely speeds the deck up. Other than that, it has a pretty decent attack called Snowy Wind. It does 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon, and does 70 that are active, which is pretty good. And actually, I'm getting super ahead of myself. The GX attack on this thing's not very important. It knocks out an Ultra Beast, but we're going to talk about Gardevoir's attack. Infinite Force deals 30 damage times the number of energy attached to both Pokemon. So if like I have like 6 energy, I'm hitting you for 180, which I can definitely get 6 energy. And it also uses your own energy against you. So if you have 3 and I have 6, that's 9. 9 times 3, 270. I'm KOing anything I want. So it just loads up a ton of energy on stuff and just absolutely steamrolls stuff. So the last part of the deck, most people would probably just run Gardevoir Ninetales. You got 2 fairies, that sounds good. I decided to mix it up just a little bit and add a little bit of draw support, and I decided to throw in a Zoroark GX. So we have a like a 3 line of Guardy, we have a 2 line of Ninetales, and last but not least we have Zoroark GX, and it's mainly going to be used for that trade ability. Once during your turn before you attack, you may discard a card from your hand, any card you want, and if so, draw 2 cards. So using trainers, supporters like Mallow, and other cards to influence the cards on the top of my deck, I can pretty much search my deck for almost any card by using this trade ability. Also, Ride is Speeding, double colorless attacker, and it goes for 20 times the number of Pokemon on your bench. So, or sorry, 20 for all your Pokemon in play. So we can do 120. Static attacker, you know, really good typing. I feel Dark just an amazing typing right now, just because it can resist so many good things. Or sorry, yeah, resist Psychic. That's pretty much it. There's a lot of Psychic, especially at this tournament. So Zoroark's a good Pokemon, decent draw support, and yeah, we're gonna go into the deck building phase. We're gonna show you guys my deck. I'm actually showing you guys the physical deck. I'm gonna be playing it down, and you guys are going to see the cards, and you're going to see how many of each card I've run. And guys, if you have any critiques for this list, please, please, please let me know any way that I can make the deck better. Or if you know, don't like this new phase, like, oh, I want to see the cards in TCGO. I don't like seeing the regular cards. I can't see them because of the reflection or whatever. Let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely work on it and make this video better for the next one. So let's go into the, you know, deck list phase. Here we go. Alright everyone, so we're actually moving on over to Pokemon Trading Card Online to show you guys my deck list. I couldn't actually find a way to jerry-rig a camera over like my deck list so I could actually show you guys the deck card for card, because I like showing you guys all my rarities because I actually have a lot of like high rarity cards, but this is also probably for the better. It can let you guys actually take a really good look at a lot of the cards so you can see their HP a lot easier. You can see their secret springs, so you're not having to like Google what all the cards do every single time I talk about one. So again, this is my official tournament list. Like, this is the type of stuff that I take to events. So if you're looking for building your own decks, if you're a newer player, you're like, all right, cool, that's a pretty good line of this Pokemon. Like, oh cool, you see it says he has 19 Pokemon in his deck. Maybe I should try and have 19 Pokemon or around that number. Oh cool, he has this many supporters, this many trainers, this many draw supporters. You can use this as an idea for your own games to like effectively build a deck. And what we're gonna do in here is we're gonna be talking about the actual the deck list itself. You can say I don't have all the cards I need on Pokemon Trading Card Game Online. Like, I don't have a Marshadow, and I don't have a Ninetales GX because I'm still, you know, I'm not one of those YouTubers that has a ton of cards. But this should serve perfect for just showing off the deck. And again, after this, we're going to be talking about the games themselves. So in review, we already talked about Gardevoir GX and how it's the main card in the deck. Secret Spring lets you accelerate energy, and Infinite Force technically is a 1 energy card attack, but it can deal a ton of damage and just stacks for the more energy you have. You use cards like Alolan Ninetales, Mysterious Guidance to help you get all the rare candies and Ultra Balls out of your deck to help you hit your curve. It can also grab really, really niche, like one of item cards, which we're going to see I have a lot of as well. And then you use cards like Zoroark GX to supplement those using trade to help you continually have a draw engine, and cards like Tapu Lele's Wonder Tag. Remember, when this card is played, search your deck for any supporter, put it in your hand. It lets you search for cards like Cynthia to help you hit your curve, cards like Professor Lecture, which we're going to talk about, to help you fill your bench, or cards like Guzman to help you win the game. So we're going to be starting off, we're going to go over all the Mons in a lot more detail, but we're going to start things off with Ditto here. And Ditto is a card, for those who don't know, is super, super good. Almighty Evolution. Once during your turn before you attack, you may put any stage 1 card, stage 1s are like a stage 1 evolution, from your hand of this Pokemon to evolve it, and you can't use the ability on your first turn or the turn it was in play. So it's really, really good. You can always want to put Ditto on the bench as whenever you can, and sure, it only has 40 HP, but it can evolve into Zoroark, it can evolve into the Curly. I know that you can't rare candy a Ditto and go straight to Gardevoir, that'd be pretty good, but it can go, into Ninetales, and note that when we read Ninetales, again, it says when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon. It doesn't say you have to evolve Vulpix, so it's very specific in that wording, so you can totally evolve it on a Ditto and still get the effect. Really, really good card. Ditto's amazing, and Ditto gets a lot of versatility, because like a lot of the times you might have like Zora, Vulpix, Routes, and Ditto, and maybe you want to double up on Zoroarks, maybe you want to double up on Ninetales, maybe you want to double up and start developing like a Curly or something like that, so you can do a second Gardevoir. Ditto gives you the ability and the flexibility to do that, so really, really good card. Note that we run one Ditto, it's a Prism Star. You can only run one of any Prism Star card. I think it says it right there in the Prism Star rule, so pretty good stuff. You can only have one. After that, we have 3 Zora and 2 Zoroark, and a lot of people might disagree with my list there. A lot of people are like, oh, you need 3 and 3. It's like, actually, I don't. If I look at my bench, I want my bench to be like, I want to have 2 Gardevoirs, I want to have 2 Zoroarks, and I want to have potentially a Ninetales if I need it. I'm probably going to have to Ninetales at least once, and that leaves one slot for a Lele, which I'm only running one of, or a Marshadow. So in reality, I don't want like 3 Zoroarks on my bench, and I have enough stuff to get stuff out of their graveyard and discard pile, so I don't really need 3 Zoroarks. I just have the 3 Zoras just so I can guarantee hit my curve in case like 2 of them get prized at the start of the game, because remember, you take 6 prizes and put them out. If all your Zoras are prized, you gotta go into any Zoroark. So remember, having like a really good basic count is also a pretty good idea, so that's why I don't need 3 Zoroarks as well. So I have 1 Ditto, 3 Zora, we got 3 Routes, we got a Marshadow, a Lele, and 2 Alolan Vulpixes for a total of 11 basic Pokemon. So that means 11 basic Pokemon out of a 60 card deck. That's roughly a little bit better than out of every 1 out of 6 cards should have a basic. So if I always start with a basic, that's pretty good. And then I have a ton of cards to help me hit my curve and helpfully let me develop my bench. We already looked at Zoroark here. Trade's really good. Rigorous Beating's really good for a decent 120 base attacker. We're going to talk about special ways we can abuse the 120 and getting that perfect number later on as I talk about the deck. We got Routes here. Pretty decent card. I actually won a game with Routes and Curly. We're going to talk about that as I get into like the actual tournament review. Curlia, I actually got some damage in with some magic shots. It was pretty good. And then Gardevoir right here. After that, looking at Marshadow. This is another card that I haven't really shown yet. It has an ability called Let Loose. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may have each player shuffle their hand to their deck and draw 4 cards. So what you want to do with this card is maybe you're going first, right? Maybe you actually mulligan a couple times. Every time you mulligan, your opponent draws a card, or maybe you're just going first. So you go through your whole turn, maybe drop some really cool like supporters, let you hit your curve, do everything, and like you totally min-max your hand. You get like an energy attach, get your bench loaded, get set up for the second turn, and you marsh out of your opponent on the very first turn. And instead of them starting with 7 cards, they start out with 4. So this card is used to disrupt your opponent. This is one of those anti-meta cards. A lot of the time, you're not really in control of what your opponent's doing. Their cards, their turn, that's completely their stuff. There's no counter traps in this game, unlike Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff. Marshall's closest you're going to get to being able to disrupt your opponent and really throw a wrench in their plans. It's really good at punishing cards like Beacon, Vulpix, for example, which we're going to talk about. So like Beacon, this card doesn't even toss the energy. You just play the Vulpix and you can use this attack. Search it after 2 Pokemon, reveal them, put them in your hand. So a lot of people start with the Beacon Vulpix, they use its attack, search your deck for like an Alolan Ninetales that evolves from it, or something else like a Lele to help them hit their curve, and then next turn they play them. If you see someone using Beacon Vulpix or other cards that'll say like next turn I get to do something, or they get to add this card to my hand, you can't play it this turn, Marshall's great at disrupting those, and definitely like throwing a wrench in your opponent's plans, like mid to late game when like they're kind of set and they have like a really good advantage on you and they have their full engine set up. You can Marshadow them and they can completely just tear people up. I think it's a great one of in most decks and definitely won me a game in this tournament. After that, Lele, like I said, 1 attack's pretty good. Energy Drive can deal some damage as well, but I think generally 1 Lele is pretty solid. I don't think you really need 2. And like I already talked about my bench setup, I want 2 guards, 1 to 2 Zoroarks, and then I have a room for a Ninetales, then I have either room for Lele or Marshadow depending on how many Pokemon get knocked out throughout the game. Last but not least, we got the Vulpix here. Like I said, really, really good stuff. Beacon is amazing because it doesn't cost any energy. Like if you have a second, you can just Beacon for free and helps you hit your curve. Pretty good stuff. And then we have the Ninetales, which we already talked about. So that is my Pokemon line. I'm only running 19 Pokemon, so I think it's actually a pretty decent number. But we're actually going to start talking about the rest of the deck now. We actually see we have my item list up first. So remember, the ability on this Ninetales says when you play this Pokemon with your hand to evolve on your Pokemon, search your deck for 2 item cards. So item cards are different from supporters. Supporters are things like this. You can see in the top right, it says supporter. Those are your draw cards and your cards you can only play once per turn because you can only play 1 supporter per turn. You can play as many items per turn as you want. So we teched in a bunch of like one-of item cards that really are very situational. That means we can go into Ninetales and get a specific cards from a situation to really suit any sort of like min-max turn we want to play. But we're going to talk about the main items here. The main items you're going to want to get with Ninetales is Rare Candy. If I have routes, I go Rare Candy into Gardevoir, free Gardevoir, and it goes super fast. Like you can do it the turn after you play it, and it lets you go right into a stage 2. It's so big, it lets you just completely steamroll and control the game from the get-go, and it's a very, very good card. I love stage 2 decks. And the other 4 items we have are, we have 4 Ultra Balls, discard 2 cards, search your deck for any Pokemon. You can search for your Lele, you can search for your Gardevoir, you can search for so many things. A lot of the time, Ninetales is going to grab probably an Ultra Ball and a Rare Candy, so you got a routes on the board, because you most likely do, because that's how the game goes. You're going to evolve your Vulpix, search for Rare Candy and Ultra Ball, you're going to Ultra Ball for your Gardevoir, and you're going to use Rare Candy Evolve right there, and that's all because of Ninetales. This card is so good. Other than that, the one-of cards that we're running, we're actually running 2 choice bands. This card makes it so your attacks deal 30 extra damage to Pokemon GX and EX attackers. Remember, the difference is, like, Marshadow isn't any of those. It's just basic, right? But Lele is another basic that says GX right next to its name. So Pokemon that have that GX or EX in their name, you see Gardevoir GX right there, deals 30 extra damage, but when they're shown their Curlia form, they're not GX yet. Remember, when you knock out a GX Pokemon, you get 2 prizes. So choice band's pretty good at letting you hit the exact numbers that you need. And again, we're going to talk more about numbers as we get into the full list of the deck. But other one-of item cards we're running 1 Enhanced Hammer. Discard a special energy card from your opponent's Pokemon. It's pretty good at getting rid of double colorless energies. That's the main reason why we're using it. And I don't think there's ever really a bad idea with having 1 Enhanced Hammer, because Zoroark is such a common Pokemon. You see it so frequently. There's so many cards that attack with a double colorless energy that having 1 Enhanced Hammer that you can search out your deck with Ninetales isn't that bad. And if for some reason they're using a deck that doesn't have double colorless energy, just discard it with trade. It's not that important. After that, we have 1 Rescue Stretcher. This card has 2 abilities. You pick one when you play it. Put a Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand, any Pokemon, or shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. So the way it's going to work is, you know, let's say your opponent's KO'd a few Pokemon and you've discarded some very key Pokemon with trade. You can Rescue Stretcher, get it back. You can get back a Lele that's been used throughout the game. You can get back a Gardevoir that's been KO'd before. You put it right in your hand, and then you go right into evolving it and doing whatever you want to do with it. Or if you're like super late game and you don't want to deck out, you can put like 3 cards that'll help you like elongate the game and help you like re-evolve your Pokemon and get extreme value out of Rescue Stretcher. I think this is a great one-of, especially in a deck that runs that Ninetales. Like, Ninetales is so good. Like, again, you don't have to search like for Ultra Ball and you know, Rare Candy. You can search for like Rescue Stretcher Rare Candy and use a card that's already in your discard pile and keep the one safe in your deck if you want to use it for later to play a longer game. So Rescue Stretcher really good. We're going to go into another card that is super clutch. I think this is super good as a one-of in this deck. We're actually going to hit Super Scoop Up. Sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit, and this card says flip a coin if heads, put 1 of your Pokemon and all cards attached to it to your hand. So you may think that's bad. Why do you want to put your stuff back? Like, you're already on the board. Well, if you're going to get knocked out next turn, sometimes that's not the play. Sometimes, like, you already have a like, let's say I have a Gardevoir that has, like, you know, 15 damage counters on it. It's at like a, you know, it's at 130 or, you know, something HP or whatever. It's going to get knocked out next turn, but it has, like, a ton of energy on it, and I can use that card later. Super Scoop Up, puts it in my hand, lets me promote a second Pokemon, so it's like a free switch, and then I just play my routes. Maybe I already had a routes, just drop a Rare Candy, Gardevoir again, Secret Spring, attach a bunch of free energy, and like I'm off to the races. It lets me, it makes it so my opponent, a lot of Pokemon have to two-shot a lot of Pokemon, and so you soak 1 hit, you Super Scoop Up, and you're in a really good spot. And the more advanced version of Super Scoop Up is going to be the first support we're actually looking at. It's going to be Acerola. Put 1 of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it, and all cards attached to your hand. So the only drawback from this card is, well, it's a support, you don't play 1 per turn, but your Pokemon has to have taken damage, so this makes it so you can't just, like, you know, play Ninetales, evolve, and Acerola right there so you can evolve it next turn again and abuse that ability. Whereas Super Scoop Up, you most definitely can. Like, you can play Ninetales, evolve, search for, like, Enhanced Hammer and Super Scoop Up. Enhanced Hammer, they're one thing, and then Super Scoop Up your own Ninetales, maybe evolve it onto another Vulpix or a Ditto, or evolve it next turn and use the ability again. You can, like, Super Scoop Up your Lele and reuse Lele. Like, you can Super Scoop Up your Marshadow. And I think having, like, a one-of in this deck of Super Scoop Up is super, super nice. Of course, you're going to miss your coin flip sometimes, but like I said, sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit. And it's these slight tweaks in deck building that really do, like, let you win games. Like I said, I got second in this tournament, and Super Scoop Up was one of the cards that helped me do it. So, yeah, we're looking at Acerola. We already looked at that. Next, you want to run for draw supporters. You got 4 Cynthias. Shuffle your hand in your deck, draw 6 cards. One of the best cards in the game. You should be running 4 of these. These cards are pretty easy to get nowadays. They come in most of the starter decks, and you should definitely be running 4. I have 4 in my deck. Other than that, we have 4 Professor Elm's Lecture. This is a card that's hard to let you help you hit your curve. You're always going to be Leleing for this card. You want to play this card on turn 1 every single game. This is better than Cynthia turn 1, because if you do this card turn 1, search your deck for Ditto, Zora, Vulpix, Ralts, all those things. You can evolve them on turn 2, and if you're going first, this makes you go for a really, really powerful turn 2 play and really control the game if you're going first. If you're going second, it's not as good, but definitely still a really, really good card. After that, we're going to be looking at some more niche cards. I guess we'll look at Guzma first. This is a card you should run 2 or 3 of in most decks as well. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active, and if you do, switch your active with one of your bench. So you switch one of theirs, and you switch one of yours. So it makes so your bench Pokemon can then get like a free turn to come on the board, and it picks off your opponent's stuff on the bench. And so being able to snipe their bench before they can set up and deal like with the Pokemon that help them hit their engine is really, really popular, like really, really good. You need some Guzmas. This card is an absolute staple, and I highly recommend it if you're not using it. So after that, like I said, we're going to look at some niche supporters here. We're actually running a Mallow, so it says search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them on the top of your deck in any order. So you may be thinking that's kind of good, but it doesn't really do anything. But you can actually combine it with Zoroark, and Zoroark, so you do Mallow, maybe you put like a Super Scoof Up and a double Colorless Energy, or like an Enhance Hammer and a double Colorless Energy, or like some sort of card, maybe like a double Colorless Energy and literally anything you want on the top of your deck. Then you discard a card and draw those 2 cards immediately. So Mallow pretty much says, hey, search your deck for 2 cards. If you have a Zoroark, put them in your hand. Really, really good card. Should be a one of in any deck that runs Zoroark, in my opinion. I love the art on this card. Mal's one of my favorite characters in the show, so really cool to see this card actually see competitive play, and definitely goes great with Zoroark. Another card that's kind of unique on the full art, you could play this card only if one of your fairy Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Put 2 cards from your discard pile into your hand. So this is really good. A lot of cards can search cards from your deck, but more often than not, when something hits the discard pile, it might be stuck there for a while unless you're using something like Gardevoir's Twilight GX that says shuffle 10 cards from your discard pile into your deck. And again, that goes into your deck. This goes right to your hand. So let's say they KO'd one of your Gardevoirs, right? Man, sucks, I just lost my Gardevoir. I was all in on that Gardevoir. You have like a Ralts in the back row, or maybe like, well, it has to be a Ralts or something else. You play Diantha, search it up for a rare candy, and a Gardevoir, get it right back, and you're just right back in action. Same type of momentum. It's like they barely scratch it. You're back. This card is a card that lets you come back when extremely behind. It also lets you keep momentum. If you're winning, this card is a card that like seals your victory. This card makes it so it's possible to run a bunch of weird stuff. So like we have three Guzmas, right? Well, it's possible to have 5 with this card. You see how this card makes the magic happen. I think it's great as a one of in most fairy decks, but I think a lot of people probably wouldn't run this card because you require a discard pile. Like if you bricked, if you like open up a really bad hand with like very little basics and you can't get the cards into your discard pile, this card's extremely hard to use. But if you already have a stable board presence and you're playing like a decently even game, this is the type of card that can win those games for you, because it's going to be able to get back those double colorless energies and all those other cards that like once they hit the graveyard they're stuck there. Like anytime you have an item, it's stuck in the graveyard for the most part, like versus like Diantha's like a really good way to get those back. Last but not least, the last supporter in the deck is actually going to be a card I'm a huge fan of, and I know a lot of people don't really like it, but I think it's the best of both worlds. You see, we're running really, really low draw supporters, right? We have 4 Cynthia, and that's pretty much it as far as draw supporters go. We're relying heavily on Zoroark, we're relying heavily on Lele. I guess we have a Marshadow, so we're supplementing it just a little bit with a Professor Kukui. This card says draw 2 cards, so it's like a bad draw supporter, but also your attacks do 20 more damage this turn. So a lot of times, people would be like, they'll look at the board, they're like, okay, cool, you got a Zoroark. Best Zoroark can do is 120, put a choice band on, goes up to 150, and, you know, that's the best you can do with Zoroark, so they might try and chump block you with a Pokemon like Tapu Lele, which has 170. They're not calculating in the ability of you having Kukui, which means you do that 170, and I KO so many Leles with this, and running a 1 Kukui, you can search this card with Lele, you can get this card back with a bunch of other effects. It's really, really good, and it does let you draw some cards, so it's not even really that bad. Other than that, like a lot of people, like let's say you're playing against Guard, they'll be like, alright, you have 4 energy, that's 120, you attach a choice band, it goes up to 150, or, you know, and then like maybe they have like 2 energies, so like they'll be like, alright, cool, well, since I have 230 health on my Guard, you know, in the Guard mirror match, you can only deal 210, so I'm safe. And then I'm going to hit you back, and I'm going to attach her on my turn, and I'm going to KO you back, but it doesn't really work when you got that Kukui. Kukui sneaks in for that 20 damage so frequently, and it's so good. Also, like Kukui, in my tournament, my opponent had, I'll give you a little preview of round 3, they opened up Chimecho, and I slapped him in the face with Magical Shot Curlia Kukui, and got like the cleanest KO on a turn that they slept on me for one turn, and I slapped on the face of that Cuckoo. He's such a good card. Being able to do that little chip damage, you can't really put a price on it because it's so good. After that, we have double colorless energy. You gotta run 4 of these, makes it so Gardevoir's infinite force here. This says, I know it takes a fairy energy to do it, but it doesn't have to be fairy energy to count. So as long as you got 1 fairy energy, every energy attached counts. So it's like super good. You can have double colorless energy, deal extra 60 damage. This card makes it so Zoroark can attack. This card makes it so Lele can attack. There's so many good things for double colorless energy in this deck, and I really think double colorless energy is amazing. You should run 4 in any deck that you actually can, because it's one of the best cards in the game. It's a card that does a lot more than regular energy. It's twice as effective as regular energy, and you know, people already run those. So more often than not, most people would probably run anywhere from like 6 to 8 energy. They'd be like, you do not need 9 energy. You do not need 9. And in my opinion, I probably don't. I probably could have gotten away with 8, but there was one game in particular where my opponent was like, cool, he has 8 energy, that's game. And he like did plays to get around them. Like he counted out everything, is like he counted all 8, and he's like, all right, I'm safe, but I have 9. And so that actually does matter. I think I think getting energy screwed is like the worst thing in the world. And so you want to play a safe game. Like you can look at this deck and you're like, yeah, I'm playing a little bit risky with like Super Scoop Up and a couple other cards. But more often than not, this is a safe deck. This is the deck that says, hey, I'm going to try and like hit my curve. I'm going to try and do like my game plan to the best of my ability. And if you don't got it, I'm gonna mess you up. So being able to soften up your curve a little bit, making it so you can always attach an energy, and also note that like it's not just guard. Like a lot of people, like you go all in on the guard, attach all your energies, but if you lose a guard and you have like 5 or 6 energy on it, then you have like 2 or 3 energy left in the deck, you're pretty boned. And so like if you want to develop a Zoroark or want to develop like a Ninetales, for example, you just don't have enough energy throughout the game. You're forced to use like Twilight GX to get all your energy back, unless you're using like Diantha to get your energy back, which by the way, a lot of people don't really, most people don't run Diantha, most people don't want to use, most people don't want to use Twilight, so I feel having a couple extra energy is actually really important. So that's the deck. I do like having 8+. I think 8's the minimum in my opinion. A lot of people could cut it down to 6, but I don't think you need to be that greedy to min-max. I think this is definitely safe enough. I have options for almost everything as far as the meta at the time goes. But now we're actually going to switch and talk about the meta. What decks were popular this tournament? What did I play against? Well, my very first round was against who I actually think is the best person there. His name's Joe something. I don't remember. But obviously, he's one of the best players there, and he goes like a bunch of regionals and stuff like that. He's one of the more competitive players, and he was running like Zoroark control with like a bunch of hammers and a bunch of cards to like help him hit his curve. Like he had like a bunch of cards like Rescue Stretcher to put a bunch of cards back in his deck, and what he would do is he'd control. He'd manage your energy, and you know, he would make it so like he doesn't really lose. He's like, I'm gonna just have a safe board where you can't one-shot anything, and that deck actually does like play for time. We're actually going to talk about time. The way this format goes is it's best of 1 in a League Cup, and there's 30-minute rounds. So going first is like really important. There's only 1 game, and if like let's say I only need 1 prize to win and you need like 6, it's still a draw if I can't win. And so at the end of the 30 minutes, you have like 3 turns to win the game. And so his deck kind of plays for time. Obviously, he's not being a scumbag stalling people, but like literally, he plays a deck that like can't really deck out and can't really lose. So, like, and it can win once you like get rid of all of their energy, which is what his deck kind of likes to go for. It like lost zones your energy and does a bunch of really cool stuff. It's just a very safe deck, but you have to be very, very good to play it. And so I was playing, and I was doing all right. And again, it was my first round, and so like, I made a couple sloppy turns, and I had my Gardevoir get hit with a Lugia GX. Let me just show you what that does. I guess it's one of the good things about playing on, TCGO. So I'd never seen this card before, and so like I got slapped with Lugia GX. Lugia, what do you do? Show not owned. Why does that not work? Hold on. Oh, I'm in trainers, that's why. That's why I didn't work. So yeah, we're going to go for Lugia. I think it's really important that I actually show you guys these cards. So, Lugia GX. There we go. So he hit me with one of these. So Psychic, not that bad. Pelagic Blade, not that bad. Lost Purge is what he hit me with. So like, I'm safe. I got this guard that is loaded, about to tear into him. And what he did was he used a Macargo, which is a card that says search your deck for any card, put it on the top of your deck. He used Trade from Zoroark, drew the card immediately, and another card. And what he did was he played this Lugia on his bench. He retreated in for the Lugia, and he attached a double colorless energy, attached an item card that says if you have if you have more prizes than your opponent, your attacks cost 1 less. And he hit me with a Lost Purge GX, put your opponent's active Pokemon and all cards attached to it into the Lost Zone. And so he just Lost Zoned, which is like the RFG, removed from game. I can't get those cards back. So Gardevoir, the routes, like the 3 or 4 energy I had on it, the choice band, all gone. And I'm like, oh shit, that was like my one card to win me the game. And from there, I really tried to use like a low one Ninetales to like chip his back row, and what he did was he just like max potioned everything like every few turns. And I'm not gonna lie, I could have timed him. I could have got that game to a draw. But I feel I have more integrity than that, and that's definitely something I should work on. I really don't like that scumbag thing where it's like, well, I guess I'll just draw. And like you start like slow playing. I don't like that. It's such bad manners, bad sportsmanship, and I don't know why people do it. Like, once I realized I Ultra Balled, like, wait, there was like 5 minutes left, and I'm like, he can't, like, I need 1 prize left, but I don't have any energy left in my deck. And so I was like, you got it, man. Like, me and him are cool, we're friends. I'm not gonna deny him a win that, like, I couldn't get, even if I had all the time in the world. And I really gotta work on that, because I feel that sometimes you should just take the draw. But in that time, I didn't. Like, I kicked myself for a way. I was like, man, I should have just drew. But, you know, I got second, and I'll take that. So anyways, like, I start off 0-1. And remember, the draws are, like, really big in Trading Card Game. They happen a lot. So, like, being 0-1 is really, really bad. Losing your first round is the worst round to lose out of, like, any tournament. And so, the next round I actually play is against Trashalanche Gardevoir. So I played against this card. We're playing against a Gardevoir deck. We're playing against this card. So this attack costs 1 Psychic, so it's not using the colorless energy, it's just using like Psychic, and it says does 20 damage for each item card in your opponent's discard pile. So what I did was I just very sparingly used items. I had about 3 or 4 items most of the time, and I really note that this Pokemon has 120 health, and it's a Psychic type. So what I did to beat this card, because it could only deal about 60 to 80 to most of my mons, I really relied heavily on Zoroark, who resists Psychic for the most part, and also deals 120 if you have a full bench. 20 for every single Pokemon. You have 6 Pokemon, deals 120. And so, really, really good stuff. And I just played really, like, that loss to Joe, like, really, like, said, I'm like, I gotta get it together. I gotta get my head in the game. And I clapped back, and I won. I won actually pretty quick. I think I was one of the first people to win. And, like, I remember hitting an Elms on the first turn, and I just went off to the races and just steamrolled the guy. Gardevoir Trashalanche decks takes usually a kind of long time to develop, and they like to play that longer game and hit for, like, you know, 200 plus once your opponent has, like, their whole deck in their discard pile. So I just didn't let that happen. Played really smart. Didn't discard items. Didn't use items unless I absolutely had to. And, that's how it usually works. So I was really actually fortunate. Like, he actually won the dice roll and went first, and he didn't open with a Gardevoir with a Trubbish or anything. He opened up with a Poipole, and I'm like, oh, is it like some weird type of Blacephalon deck? Because that's what Poipole would kind of be in. And then, because the thing is, like, he didn't play a Trubbish until his second turn, and on my first turn, I didn't have to Ultra Ball. I had the Elms, but I would have had to Ultra Ball. Maybe I discard another item. I could have accidentally, you know, misplayed in discarding 3 or 4 items right off the start, and that's usually what that deck kind of hopes that you do before you know what you're playing against. So I didn't have to fight that, so we take those all the way to the bank. So going into the next round, so I'm currently 1-1, and remember, I already fought against Joe's Zoroark control deck, and I actually fight against another control deck in round 3 that uses this card. It was against a girl who was not very happy to be playing me. She was in a very bad mood, but it used this card. So it's another stall deck that uses a bunch of like hammers, energy disruption cards, and literally like just plays the slow game for time. People do that in the card game. You're starting to see also a pattern of like psychic types being very prominent. Bell of Silence, your opponent can't play any Pokemon that has an ability from their hand during the next turn. So they opened with this. They probably only run like 3 or 4 basic Pokemon in the deck. Didn't hit any supporters, and just kind of hoped that, you know, if they hit me with the Bell of Silence, I can't evolve into Zoroark, I can't evolve into Gardevoir, I can't play a Marshadow, I can't play Lele, I can't play my Ninetales. I'm left to beat them down with Vulpix, Kirlia, and Zora. And so what I did was I went into Kirlia Beatdown. I had routes, and so I Draining Kiss for 10. Note that this thing has 60, so it's at 60. I Draining Kissed again, and then I Ultra Balled for my Kirlia, and I attached a second energy, and I used Kukui, 50 damage, slapping him in the face, getting the KO, and remember guys, if you don't have any Pokemon in your back row, you lose. You'll lose the game if you don't have any other Pokemon to send out after you get the KO. So, unfortunately, my opponent kind of bricked. And what I mean by bricked is they didn't draw their supporter cards that let them, like, play the game. But they had me in a pretty decent lock, but Kirlia coming in hot. Magical Shot, 30 damage plus the 20 base from the Kukui lets me get the KO. So we take those, and I'm pretty sure they dropped after that. They're pretty salty, but that's Pokemon. You know, that's the game that we play. We play a game full of RNG. You're not going to win them all, and that's one of the downfalls of playing in like a best-of-1 format because, you know, sometimes you just don't hit your curve. And that's the thing about this deck. Like I made a deck that can, like, at least, even though its curve isn't like subpar, this deck isn't doing the craziest thing you've ever seen, but this deck can hit its curve every single game. I'm always going to be able to play a game where, like, all right, I have my bench, I have my active, I can evolve some stuff, I can play the game. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I like a safe deck like this. So we're going into round 4. This is actually the last round of the tournament, and I'm actually playing against another Gardevoir deck. So remember, for those who don't remember, we got the Gardevoir. And I actually knew this guy was playing Gardevoir. He was sitting, like, right next to me, so I knew he was running a Garb deck. And this is one of the more, like, elite players. I'm pretty sure this guy was, like, he was, like, trying to trade early. His whole deck was, like, super swagged out. And so he's using Trash Lanch. And so, again, I'm trying not to let my item count get really big. And what I also like to do is, let's just say this is my discard pile, like when you're playing the game. What I like to do when you're playing against Gardevoir, Trash Lanch, I think it's helpful for both players if you put your item cards like this under the discard pile, right? And so they can always go and they can always count like how many item cards you have if you stack them out like this. And so it's easier for both players to like filter out how many items in your discard pile and just put them on the side like this under your discard pile. And so it helps it so both players can keep track of how much damage Trash Lunch is doing at all times. You do not have to. There's nothing forcing you to do that, but I think it's like, again, it's a competitive integrity. It's just making it fair for both players. So yeah, Trash Lunch. And I just wasn't going to let him get that many items. And what he was also doing was his deck was a lot more bulkier than other decks because he was actually running, how do I do this? Shuckle. So to help him, like I said, Trash Lunch wants to play like the mid to late game. And so they want to have everything developed. And so he was actually using a deck heavily based around Shuckle GX. And so this is his active for most of the game. And then once he has 2 or 3 Trash Lunch developed, once you have like 10 plus items in your discard pile, he brings out the Trash Lunch after this thing's done all its job. So this thing's ability is Protective Shell. Prevent all damage to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have 2 or fewer energy attached to them. So like I said, those double colorless energy decks are so popular. Most Pokemon attack for 1 to 2 energy. And so if the only energy in my deck are double colorless energy, which is a very common thing, I have to attach 2 double colorless energies to even attack. His deck's full of item cards that remove energies using like Crushing Hammers, Enhanced Hammers, and so the whole thing is like you just stall with this guy. You can go for Wrap GX, which just paralyzes them for a turn, gives you a free turn. And then like Triple Poison makes you take 3 damage in between turns. And if you go for like a para, that's technically like 40 damage from this, and then 30 damage in between the turn. And then if they stay in again, that's 30 more damage. So like it's all about like stalling and waiting for the ability for Trash Lines to come out. I played a very, very, very safe game, and I just destroyed him with Gardevoir. And there was one time when he actually thought that he thought he was fine. He got in like Enhanced Hammer play. What he did was let me try to remember. I had my Zoroark, right? And I had 2 Fairy Energy on it. No, yeah, I had 2 Fairy Energy on it because I just attached them. And no, it wasn't. I remember what it was. It was a double colorless and a Fairy Energy, right? And so what he did was he enhanced hammered my double colorless energy, which gets rid of the special energy. So all I have is a Fairy Energy. And so what I did was I still needed to hit this Shuckle, right? So what I did was I had a Gardevoir in the back, and I Secret Springed onto my Zoroark. Remember, like I said, Secret Spring does not have to go on Fairy types, so you can attach a Fairy Energy to anyone. I attached right there. I hard attached for my turn, and I got 3 energy, and he just wasn't expecting me to be able to do that. I'm pretty sure I evolved into Guard that turn, so like I really took him by surprise. Otherwise, he would have been able to stall for a few more turns, and I got the win. So I actually like lost the first round, went and won the next 3 rounds, and I stayed true to myself. Like I didn't go for any draws. I finished all my games like well within the time limits, and I definitely feel that that's the intended way to play the game. That is the intended way to play the game. in my opinion. You should try and always play everything out, but that's pretty much all I have for you guys. I just wanted to say, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have any questions on how I can make these type of videos better, please, please, please let me know in the comments below. Other than that, like I said, this tournament was in Davis, California, and I plan on going to a bunch of tournaments. I plan on doing these for regionals, and when I go for regionals, when I do the tournament review for like regionals, I plan on like taking like a video camera, recording a bunch of stuff, having like deck lists and like names and stuff like that for everyone. But this is just a general idea to introduce you guys to like a tournament review, and it's not as much a tournament review, but it's like a tournament deck review, which is different from like a meme deck review, because like this is the serious business stuff. So guys, thank you guys for watching. Please, please, please subscribe to the channel if you have not yet, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.